Subha Vilas, who is a spiritual seeker and motivational speaker, who holds a degree in engineering and law with a specialization in patent law. His leadership seminars are popular with top-level management in corporate houses. He addresses their crucial needs through the thought processing seminars such as Secret of Lasting Relationship, Soul Curry to Stop Worry, and Work-Life Balance. The name of few what he takes workshop in many corporate houses in Bombay and around India. And he's a traveler. He travels to almost each and every city in India and abroad. So I welcome Swami Subha Vilas on dais. Swamiji, please. The book is being written by Swamiji and published by Jaico, who was established in 1946 with 10 offices all over India. We have renowned authors like Robin Sharma, Maxwell Ziegler, Swami Subha Vilas. We have 4 launches happening in Goa Literary Fest. Yesterday we had a launch of Ayaz Memon, the cricketing series. Today we are having a launch of Swamiji's book. And we also have tomorrow 2 more launches. So I would like Swamiji to talk about the book.
So grateful to Vijay for introducing me. This book which I have written is called Ramayana, the Game of Life. As Vijay was saying that there are so many Ramayans in the world. Ramayana is one book probably which has fascinated Indians and practically people from all over the world more than any other literature in the entire history. Why another Ramayana? What is the significance of one more in the presence of so many? The title reveals the secret. The name of the book is not just Ramayana. It's Ramayana, the Game of Life. So, essentially, when we talk about life, when somebody lives life, everyone wants life to be smooth, extremely smooth. But the same thing you wouldn't want in a game. For example, a game like cricket. Who would want a smooth game without any twists and turns? An exciting game is one when there is a lot of twists and turns, and till the end you don't know who's going to win and who's going to lose. That's how an exciting game is. But the same thing we don't want to apply in life. Life we want it to be smooth. So this book is meant to teach us through the story of the Ramayana lessons on how to handle reversals. Lessons on how to handle not just reversals but also how to handle success. Handling reversals may seem to be easy, but handling success is more difficult. Because when somebody becomes successful, there is the intoxication of pride which actually waters down what success is giving us. So I'll just speak 1 or 2 instances from the book which will give you some insights on what this book is going to offer. This book has a range of topics that it covers, right from lessons on good relationships, to lessons on handling the mind, to lessons on corporate leadership, to lessons on handling love affairs, all this and much more. I'll just tell you 1 or 2 instances of these concepts from the book. In Ramayana, the kingdom of Ayodhya is described. Even now people talk about Ram Rajya. They talk about that eternal kingdom which was perfect in every way. What is Ram Rajya? One instance from the book is about Dasharath's leadership model. So Dasharath, in his leadership perspective, he had what is known as a circular system of leadership. In a circle, which point is the most important point? All are. In fact, the most important point of a circle is the center. Dasharath was a leader, but he was not a leader who was the center of the circular leadership. But he was one of the points in the circle. Just like he was one of the points, there are many other people who were points in the circle. What is the center? The center was the welfare of the kingdom. This is called circular leadership. So, in order to emphasize the circular leadership, make it perfect, Dasharath had 3 types of assets which actually gave him perfection in his leadership, which is what every leader should have. The first type of asset is called as tangible assets. Tangible assets are the army and treasury. He had that sufficiently. But more than that, he had the second type of asset which is known as intangible asset. Intangible asset is confidence that people have in the leader. From that confidence comes loyalty and unquestioned obedience. Today's world lacks this concept of intangible assets. But in addition to the tangible and intangible assets, Dasharath had a third type of asset which actually made his leadership stable. What was that? This is known as the big M. Big M stands for what we call as mentors, mantris, ministers of Dasharath. He had 8 ministers and 2 advisors. These 10 people together were what Dasharath considered to be the big M. And these people, they had a role of pointing out to Dasharath when he became autocratic. The natural tendency in leadership is to become autocratic, take decisions based on what you like and dislike. But every time Dasharath would do that, the big M would show him that he is one of the points on the circle, and the center of the circle is the welfare of the kingdom. This is something from the leadership perspective. Something from the parenting perspective. One of the stories in the Ramayana is where Vishwamitra comes to Dasharath and asks Dasharath to allow Ram to come with him to the forest, because he has a sacrifice which he's doing for the welfare of the world, and he wants Ram to protect it. Dasharath is a concerned father. At the same time, he is a dutiful king. Now, when the conflict happens between duty and love, generally love wins over. So here is a very interesting scene where Dasharath loved his son, and the attachment that he had to his son was so strong that his attachment was preventing the growth of Ram. Parents have a tendency to want their child to have a risk-free life. Parents want their children to have a risk-free life, which means absolutely no loss of comfort. Here, Dasharath is wanting such a life for Lord Ram. He wants no inconvenience to be caused to Ram. But the risk that he's taking by wanting a risk-free life to Ram is that he's risking that his son is going to be dissatisfied. His son is not going to grow. So parenting is about having a balance. Understanding that you want to provide your child a risk-free life, but at the same time you have to ensure that the child grows. So Vishwamitra and Vasishtha, through their conversations, inspire Dasharath to allow Ram to grow. Vasishtha tells him something which really helps him transform his life, transform his decision. Vasishtha tells him, just like a river naturally turns and enters into the ocean, similarly, Vasishtha tells him, let Ram leave the river of comforts of Ayodhya and enter into the ocean of Vishwamitra's knowledge. Because Vishwamitra had much more to offer Ram than what Ayodhya could offer. That's what a perfect teacher is. I speak something from the perspective of love. There's always this question, what is it good? Arranged marriage or love marriage? So most of the times the decision or the understanding is that these both can't function together. You can't have love and have an arranged marriage together. Not possible. Or some people feel one of the two is better. This one doesn't work or that one doesn't work. So Ramayana gives a new perspective, an interesting understanding of what is the combination of love and the traditional connection. So Ram, he went to Mithila with Vishwamitra Muni. He broke the bow and he was going to marry Sita. So now, can you imagine what an effort that was? Thousands and thousands of people had already tried breaking the bow. They couldn't even lift the bow. And finally, one person had come who could break the bow, not just lift it. And then Sita is waiting to come and garland Ram. So before that, Ram and Sita had seen each other for one moment the previous day. And just that one moment of seeing each other, the love in their heart just erupted. Instantly Ram fell in love with Sita, and instantly Sita fell in love with Ram. But then the Swayamvara was there the next day. So Sita was the traditional princess who couldn't really voice out her opinion. And then when the bow breaking happened, Sita came down, and Sita was going to garland Ram. Ram tells her, wait a minute, I have not come here to marry. I have come here in the instructions, following the instructions of my father and following the instructions of my guru, Vishwamitra. He said, marriage is not in my agenda. So now, can you imagine what is the situation? Sita is heartbroken, Janak is heartbroken, everyone is bewildered. What is Ram doing? That's when the lesson comes out of the connection between the two. Love is heartfelt, but communication has to be always logical. When love which is heartfelt and communication which is logical don't function together, don't work together, then one of the two prevail. So Ram did not want to marry Sita, the reason being that he wanted to have clear communication with his father, Dasharath. So now, it doesn't mean that he didn't love Sita. He just was being logical in connecting with his father. So Sita appreciated this quality of Ram very much. And in fact, Sita actually judged Ram, the quality of this person, based on the fact that he was not just blind in love, but in spite of being deeply in love, this person was balanced and still logical. So these are two things that one needs to keep in mind while making decisions in life, especially decisions that are so sensitive as marriage. First is the love that has to be there between two people has to be heartfelt. But more than that, the communication between different parties involved in that in a person's life has to be logical. Generally, when there is heartfelt love, communication becomes very illogical. Most people who try to communicate their feelings, they communicate it very illogically. And that results in a lot of confusion, and that results in a lot of trauma. So, another aspect of communication which really brings out such a powerful deal of how to avoid conflicts. All of us are struggling with that, right? There are people we love in our life, friends, family members, husband and wives. But then, there is one situation in our life which really flares up the relationships. I'll tell you one such situation that happened in the life of Lakshman, the brother of Lord Ram. If you just understand what Lakshman did in this particular case, in this particular situation, you will learn how to deal with conflicting situations that come in life. Most of the time, when conflicts come, we react and don't respond. So Lakshman, through this story, is teaching us that we need to respond and not react. This is the section where Sita is in the forest with Lord Ram, and the golden deer has come. And now Sita is attracted by the golden deer. So Sita wants the golden deer. She tells Ram, please go and get it for me. So Ram says, okay. He tells Lakshman, guard Sita and I am going. And while Ram is away, Lakshman is guarding her. Suddenly they hear a voice of Ram shouting out the name of Lakshman and Sita. Immediately Sita is disturbed because she thinks that Ram is in trouble. And as soon as Sita thinks that Ram is in trouble, she tells Lakshman, go and help him. Lakshman says, come on, nothing can happen to Ram. So here is a conflict. Sita gets wild on Lakshman. She in fact starts accusing him. This was 13 years after the exile. 13 years they have been together, and Lakshman, for not even one night he has slept. When I say he didn't sleep for one night also, it doesn't mean that he slept all day long. Generally now this concept of not sleeping in the night is very much prevalent today, call center. So it is not like Lakshman was operating a call center and guarding Ram in the night and all day he was sleeping. No. He was not sleeping all night long, guarding Ram and Sita, and all day long he was serving Ram and Sita. after those 13 years of selfless service, this is what Sita tells him. Sita tells him, I know why you're not going to save Ram. You're not going because you are waiting for an opportunity that your brother falls in trouble so that you can enjoy me. Questioning his character. Can you imagine a person like Lakshman? He had never even looked at Sita beyond her feet. Lakshman keeps quiet, doesn't say a word. When people throw insults at you, say something to prove that they are wrong, right? But here Lakshman keeps quiet. And then he goes, he knows that when I come, he tells Sita in fact, when I come back I'm sure you will not be here, but I'm going. He goes, and then sometime later Ram is coming back and Ram finds him on the way. Ram asks him, why did you come? I told you not to come. Lakshman tells him, that Sita has pushed me to come here. And then they return back and they find Sita is not there. And now Ram starts chastising Lakshman. He says, you are a fool. I told you, you are useless. So two people whom this man has given his life to, one is doubting his character and the other is doubting his competence. When somebody's character and competence is doubted, what else does a person have to live for? If anybody else was in Lakshman's place, they would have said, hell with both of you. I'm going home. He has sacrificed so much, and what do they give him? This insight, doubt. That's when we learn from Lakshman. What Lakshman did essentially was he pressed the pause button. All of us need to remember this, that when we are in a situation which is sensitive and makes us reactive, that is the time we have to remember to press the pause button. What is the meaning of press the pause button? It means essentially, Lakshman, for one moment, he thought, why did Sita speak like that? Sita spoke like that just for one reason, because her love for Ram was intense. And why did Ram speak like that? Ram spoke like that because his love for Sita was very intense. So it was not that they meant what they said, but what really prompted them to say that was their love. And Lakshman could tolerate and pause because 25 years of his life, both of them had deposited unlimitedly in terms of their relationship. And at this point of time when they made a mistake, he didn't react, he responded. These are some of the things that are there in Ramayana, the Game of Life. Very happy to be able to speak a few words about the book.
We launched the book.
I'm just wondering about your footwear. It doesn't seem very comfortable, so why is it that people wear this kind of thing, if you don't mind?
I can tell you from a practical perspective, and I can tell you from a philosophical perspective. Which one should I tell you? The practical perspective will bewilder you. The philosophical perspective may not. The philosophical perspective is that, from the Ayurveda point of view, wood is supposed to act as a powerful agent of aligning energies with the earth. So therefore, wood is something that is recommended traditionally. And from an ecological perspective, it is eco-friendly. And from a practical perspective, I live in an ashram where thousands of people come and go. And we internally have about 200 people staying. So at any given point of time, there is always a possibility that your slipper goes missing. So this is one thing nobody robs.
Is it comfortable?
Yes,
Yeah.
you get used to it eventually.
You've done a retelling of Ramayana from practical and contemporary perspective. Why Ramayana and why not Mahabharata, which everybody else seems to be digging into?
And another reason I chose Ramayana is because I just love the book. For me, that book is not just a book, it's life. When I read the stories of the Ramayana, it really brings out so much alive and speaks so much. So I thought what I am experiencing I should share with the world. And more than anything else, I am not just retold the Ramayana, but I have tried to write the Ramayana in a way which is an exciting novel. I've seen today people are searching for entertainment, desperately searching for entertainment. And there are so many books that are coming out to entertain, but I found that there is not one book that entertains and enlightens simultaneously. So I tried to present the Ramayana in a way which is extremely entertaining in terms of the narrative, the storyline, but at the same time it is extremely enlightening in terms of the lessons.
But in today's world, Ram seems to not in sync with today's world. I mean, he's not the kind of ideal Purushottam.
Oh, that's almost like a you almost felt no, it's not a slap. It almost felt that you don't know Ram at all. So I tell you, it's extremely relevant today. Extremely relevant today. The only thing is you need to find out or you need to study how it is relevant. I am assisting you in your efforts to explore the possibility of understanding Ram in a different realm. So this book is not just one book, it's a series. This is the first book. There are 6 volumes to this book actually. Each volume is one kand of the Ramayana. The Ramayana has 6 kands. This one is the first book. So if you notice, I am trying to go in extreme details of every small episode of the Ramayana and trying to really bring out beauty from it and lessons from it. So the point is that generally, traditionally people follow the Valmiki Ramayana. So I have combined Valmiki Ramayana with Kamba Ramayana, which is a South Indian poetry on Ramayana. Along with that, I have also added folk tales from different episodes of the Ramayana, which are in philosophical alignment with the Valmiki Ramayana. So that way, with all of them put together, it makes an exciting reading, basically.
One question regarding Shravan Kumar. You deal with Shravan Kumar?
Yeah, this is one episode in the book.
Shravan Kumar vis-a-vis Dashrath, vis-a-vis Ram.
Yes.
Could enlighten us on.
Yes. Shravan Kumar represents a son who selflessly serves his father. Dashrath represents an overconfident shooter. And in his overconfidence, he shoots an arrow and kills Shravan Kumar. So overconfidence, without seeing what is ahead of you, leads to a painful shriek. So what we recommend is that you have to be confident of what you're doing. But when you're overconfident, you not only harm yourself, but you harm others. So the result of Dashrath being overconfident was that he landed in trouble, Shravan Kumar landed in trouble, and so did his parents. And because Dashrath landed in trouble, the entire world landed in trouble because he was the leader of the world. So when a leader becomes overconfident, this is the mistake. This is the result of the mistake, the gravity of the mistake. And as far as Ram is concerned, so as far as Dashrath is concerned, he made a mistake. Making a mistake is the sign of a lack of foresight. But repeating the mistake is a lack of intelligence. So Dashrath made the mistake, but when he came back to Ayodhya, the first thing he did was, he banned the sonic archery forever from Ayodhya.
What?
Sonic archery. Sonic archery means shooting an arrow only by hearing sound. It's called Shabda Bedi. So the first thing he did to rectify his mistake was, he banned sonic archery in Ayodhya, which is actually laudable. So, and Lord Ram, he learns from the mistakes of his father and makes sure he doesn't repeat those same mistakes again. The first thing is, he's confident but not overconfident. There are many episodes which are highlighted in the book which talk
I
about.
wanted your take on the fact that he was cursed by the parents
Yes.
of Shravan Kumar.
Yes.
And so, in karmic justice,
Yes.
Ram was banished.
Yes, that's a fact.
Yes.
So the point is that the result of the mistake of one person has to be suffered by other people, especially that one person if he's a leader. So Dashrath made a mistake, And the result of the mistake had to be suffered by his son, Ram.
And him.
And him, of course.
Yeah.
So that's how the cycle of action and reaction is. You're right.
I know I might be getting ahead of myself because you said you have a series coming out, but I just can't resist my curiosity. How do you plan to narrate and explain incidents like the Agni Pariksha and Sita's banishment to the forest, particularly in contemporary times?
The vibrations behind and the base of when you said Ram's personality. There are two things that really are things that are like a thorn in people's feet when they talk about Ram. One is the Agni Pariksha of Sita, and the second is the killing of Vali without seeing, I can assure you, I'm going to deal with them in a way that is logically consistent, but in a way that will actually bring out your love for this personality much, much higher, and at the same time not justifying, but rather presenting logically. I don't know whether I want to say the result, the answer now, because we need to wait.
Give us a brief insight.
Yeah.
Pardon?
A hint, please.
Yeah,
Okay.
just a brief insight because
Okay.
it's
I'll give you a brief insight at least.
It's a very feminist question.
Yeah.
It's a human question.
No, it's not really a feminist question. It's a question of trying to appreciate and understand the mindset of somebody who makes such a difference to the world. Trying to understand how this one person who seemed to be perfect in every other place has made one imperfection which is so powerful. It's not a feminist question. I wouldn't see it that way. So let me try to explain to you in as brief way as possible. So basically, essentially, you have to remember the weight of leadership. Generally when there is a weight, it squashes things, right? The first thing it squashes is a leader's personal life. So most leaders are waiting to transfer their weight on somebody else, so that their personal life is not affected at all. But as soon as you accept responsibility, you have to also be happy to accept the anxiety that comes along with the responsibility. When a few people are ready to handle anxiety on a personal level, there is happiness on a global level, on a level of a community. But when few people are wanting comforts on a personal level, then there is anxiety on a global level. That is what today's leadership is about. Few people at the top being happy, and everybody else suffering the result of that happiness. So which one we prefer?
No, it means sacrificing your wife. Come on.
No,
He's a
no,
wimp.
it's also
Oh,
just
wow.
saying that
He's a
ends
wimp
justify
just
the
because
means,
he's in.
No, no,
which
I'm not
is
punishing the
supposed to
wife.
be Ram's character.
No, I'm not saying that. That's why I said this is one of the understandings. I tell you, if Ram was happy by sacrificing his wife, he would have married immediately another wife. But for 11,000 years, Ram lived along with Sita, a golden form of Sita on his throne, and he lived utterly miserable. He was not happy at all, utterly miserable. There are many angles to it. Another angle to it is that from the perspective of the pastime, there is, there are many levels to this particular story. One is a human level, which we just discussed about leadership. Another is a level of, on a divine level. So every story, every pastime of the Lord winds up in certain ways. And when the pastime winds up, that means that the Lord has to go back to his spiritual world. They wind up the pastime in a certain way. Sita appeared from the earth, just, she's called as Ayonija. She's not born from a human, she doesn't have a human birth. Similarly, she returns back to earth in the same way. So, this pastime also facilitates that, the return of Mother Sita. But on another level, if you see, it's not that, so the leader has to have a spotless character. That's when he can absolutely gain confidence of the entire world. So, because this one person doubted Ram, now you might say, yes, it is cruel on the part of Sita. But you see, from her perspective also, it's not that she blamed him. You don't find even one instance where Sita is saying that Ram is a bad husband. He was very respectful to her, even when she was sent to the house of Valmiki Muni. But from the perspective of her sons, he wanted to give Sita a place which is conducive for giving birth to the two children. Yes, all this seems to be quite cruel when you see it only from Sita's perspective. But my suggestion is, please do not see the actions of Ram only from one perspective. A leader cannot be judged based on one angle. Yes, one angle may hurt a lot. But when you see this one person sacrifice from many angles, at every angle, Ram suffered more than Sita. But if you see from the perspective of the community that gained from this ideal of Ram, we actually develop a lot of respect for this person. So, yes, I wouldn't say that, I'm not saying that Ram is right in banishing Sita in this way. But he was helpless also, to a great extent. The options are two. One option is that we be happy with leadership who is concerned with personal motive, personal interest, and hell with the world. And the second, we be contented with leadership which is ready to sacrifice personal happiness for the sake of accommodating the world. I personally feel the second one makes more sense because at least the greater community is happy. Sita, we have to ask her whether she's happy or no, right? So it ends at a certain pinnacle, which is one small hint which I'm not wanting to share here, which really brings out what Sita's feelings are when she was going back to the earth. So that we will wait and watch.
Why don't you want to share this with us?
Pardon?
Sita is mainly shared. Why don't you share it? Because Sita has suffered the most.
No, more than that, the readers, because he feels there's injustice, so the readers are suffering.
I'll be happy to talk to you all.